thank you for joining us. Welcome to the Stories from Salish Seas, where we will bring you on a journey, West Coast Indigenous perspective. We will explore arts, culture, and politics from grassroots as well as community perspectives. The Salish Seas is an intricate body of waterways located at the southwest tip of the Canadian province of British Columbia and joined at the northern state of Washington of the U.S. The major body waters of the Salish Seas includes the Strait of Georgia, the Strait of Juan de Fuca, as well as Puget Sound. She stretches from Desolation Sound at the northern tip of Georgia Strait to the southern part of Puget Sound. And the inland waterways of Salish Seas is quite protected by the Vancouver Island from the Pacific Rim storms. Some of the port cities of the Salish Seas include Seattle, Tacoma, Bellingham, Victoria, and Vancouver. These stories we would like to focus with you in the highest of your honor with a focus on Salish Seas. Don't touch that dial. We are connected by the water of Salish Seas, and those are the stories that we would like to feature with you. You won't be the same. In the highest of your honor, stay with us.
Okay, so my thoughts on Aboriginal Day are that it should be a national holiday. It shouldn't just be for Aboriginal people to gather. We usually have to take a day off work, from actual work, and I think it should be a national holiday to acknowledge our history in this country and the fact that we've been here for thousands of years, and I know a lot of people come from Europe and other countries and they say, oh, the history there is so rich. Well, they're not celebrating our history. They're bringing a little bit of European history over here and celebrating colonial holidays. So it's about time that everyone joined in and celebrated with us for Aboriginal Day.
So with Eddie Gardner here, Stalo Elder Squaw Nation. So let's get your thoughts on Aboriginal Day and what that means for you.
Aboriginal Day, that is a big day for Quilmo, for First Nations people all across Canada. And of course that includes the Métis, the Inuit and First Nations people. We have a special and unique place in the social fabric of Canadian society. We also have an important place politically and economically as well. But in the history of our country here, we went through a very dark period where the intent of the Canadian government and the churches, the RCMP, was to get rid of the Indians, to put them totally aside, get us as Aboriginal or Indigenous peoples of this country to be totally embedded in Canadian society with no identity at all. So they did this and they didn't succeed. We're still here. We still have, although they succeeded partially in taking away a lot of our culture and our languages and whatnot, there's a resilience amongst us as First Nations people, as Indigenous peoples, to continue to survive and to hold on to a vision from our ancestors, to live in harmony with Mother Earth, to live in harmony with each other and Creator. And that's a very important, significant vision. It's a very important and significant world view, especially in this global village that we're living now, where Mother Earth doesn't have the carrying capacity that it used to have because of all the pollution and all the degradation that has been happening to Mother Earth. So if people are going to really do something to prepare a good road for future generations, we're going to have to kind of take that vision from our ancestors and and make it come alive in this today's world, and face the truth that we have to follow natural laws and move away from fossil fuel dependency and go to more ecologically eco-friendly energy technologies, using the sun, using the wind, using the waters. And if we don't, every time we look in the mirror, we're going to be looking at the next species that's going to disappear, because that's the way things are going now. But I'm very, very proud of being a Wilmot, of being a First Nations person. I think Aboriginal Day is an opportunity for us to really show our language, our culture, our values, and a history that shows the world that despite powerful forces that tried to destroy us, we stayed alive, we still have hope, and this is an important message to all people around the world. So that's what it means to me, Aboriginal.
With the Guy Blaney here at in Vancouver, unceded Coast Salish territories. Aboriginal Day is coming up. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I've always received the education that I've needed to be able to understand, comprehend, and look to my rights and be able to uplift those. One of the rights being the Indian rights and title that Indigenous people are entitled to as being caretakers and stewards and having jurisdiction over their traditional territory and ceded traditional territory unless a treaty has been signed. And once treaties have been signed in our land, we are no longer Indian peoples. We are Aboriginal, non-original citizens of Canada. So as a part of the terminology and name that the government has put in place as a way of isolating, and that is a term Aboriginal that's degrading to the peoples. I've never really supported Aboriginal Day except in concept. Well, with Aboriginal Day coming up, you do see things intensifying though. Indigenous peoples who are raising their fists in the air, Indigenous peoples who are standing up against the Northern Gateway Pipeline, and there's been multiple battles for Indian rights and title and for the recognition of our rights in the past. One of them was against the white paper when all of the Indigenous people across Canada decided that they didn't want the white paper put through, and so that was shut down. And I think this battle that we're seeing, especially around Aboriginal Day with the Northern Gateway Pipeline, this is another battle that we're hoping to see shut down, because we have a majority of the Indigenous people on the unceded land who do have their recognized rights of having jurisdiction over their traditional territory and having the caretakership and stewardship and say in what happens to their future. You have these people who are, a majority of them, sticking up against the Northern Gateway Pipeline. So I can definitely see things intensifying. And I'm really here to be supportive throughout the entire process, I guess, of these warriors that are here today.
Cool. Thank you.
Hi everybody, Peachy here. We're with the director, producer of the new program, Stories from the Salish Seas, and we're honored to have Kelly White here to share the stories of the Salish Seas and where we may go with it. So thanks for being part of this amazing project. We're really excited to bring it to air.
It's a great honor, and I'm gratefully thankful also. It's just the words you couldn't pay for in money or mountains of gold, or it's a privilege to help the community have their say.
Great, and so let's get into your traditional background and your Indigenous background here in the Salish Seas. Maybe you can share with the viewers where you come from.
Okay, sure. I was born in Cedar in Nanaimo. Our people call it Nanaimo, and the translation is people of the river. Some identify us in the global community as Coast Salish, and we are 7 dialects of Coast Salish from Oregon, Washington State, the interior of BC, as well as the Vancouver Island and the Sunshine Coast. So we expand quite a bit of territory we take up the whole southern part of British Columbia and the northern part of the States. And the part of our people, my grandma's from Duncan, that's Halkamilam, and our relations are Coutts from the other side of South Vancouver Island. And then our family goes to the Sunshine Coast around Squirrel Cove, Klaus, as well as Haida Gwaii, our immediate family. So we're quite the Pacific Rim family, and being raised on the coast, we're all fish people and shellfisher people, and that was our lifestyle, harvesting off the land, water.
Yeah, it's really amazing, just because I'm Filipino descent, for those of you that may not know, but and raised in the school system that's British Columbia funded, and a lot of what I'm learning from the stories from Indigenous people, it just kind of blows me away, because I've traveled over all these lands knowing certain names, but the history and the communities that existed prior to the colonization, and it's just like a mind shift. You're at the same place, but it actually had another name, and so that's a big focus of the program. Sharing the stories of the Salish Seas, which it may be a new name for settler society, which some people like to term us people who have come to the Indigenous territory, but it's quite an education. So before I get into that, but I want to get into your work with the women's advocacy and tribal journeys, and you've done a lot of work in those regards. Maybe you can share with the viewers the work that you've done.
Where to start? We started living off the river and the ocean, and came back to it. In that journey, we're paddlers, we're canoe people. Our governance in the most of the North, Central, and South America's Indigenous people have governance by ceremony. Ours is in the 4 months of the winter, and you have 10,000 of our people on the move in Oregon, Washington, and BC, and ceremonies like potlatches, namings, memorials, births, weddings. For the 4 months, decisions are made in the 4 months of the winter, the longhouse, and we harvest our lifestyle with the spring, autumn, and summer as well. So the governance is, decision makings are by ceremony, and we're matriarchy in the Salish Seas territories. The governance of the spring is harvesting. We need to get out on the rivers and the oceans and harvest for the year's supply. For the ceremonies, we have the fall time. We're harvesting the gardens and the orchards, harvesting that, smoking them, drying them for the year's potlatches. Most of the lifestyle is giving thanks at sunrise, giving thanks at sundown, and giving. You prepare food, have it for the guests, make sure the water's there, clean. Hard to come by clean water, and we're surrounded by water. So a lot of the lifestyle is based on our longhouse. Coming to the outside world, we call it. I was honored to be one of the first chairladies of the Environment Network's movements. I was the chairlady of the BC Environment in the last 2 years of the 80s. Our chair was hired by Parliament. So I was appointed to be the chair for the BC Environment Network and learned lots of information on the Salish Seas as well as the whole Pacific Rim of water life. In Vancouver, I was also a teacher for grade 1 to grade 8 for 7 years, teaching cultural enrichment. As well, I taught at a Native Education Center when it was a college for the same late 80s, early 90s, as well as taught theater for healing methodology of cultural performance for Native Education Center, and that was a spirit song school that was closed. Through advocacy, became involved in concert producing for 7 years, and our concert theme was social justice and the creation of healing, our nations of united resistance to apathy. And that was our concert promotion by Music in the Arts for 7 years. And that involved our, then I went back to class after all that, and went to studies with film, advanced motion picture and television, webcasting, and that gained re-access to profile the community's own healing perspectives and their own enrichments.
So let's talk about tribal journeys, because you mentioned you have a background there, and the mantra, shut up and paddle, you've got a background.
Well, tribal journeys, this origin is in Gatwas. It's a festival that was hosted by the Bella Bella, and that's opening soon. They're traveling back up to Bella Bella by paddle. In 1994, I was honored to be invited by late Bill Reid to take his Lutas fiberglass canoe with the real canoe up from Vancouver to Bella Bella in 1994. And there was 3,000 people then, over 700 paddlers. And having such a great honor, I felt unworthy to paddle Bill Reid's canoes. And it was all men on the canoe. They got up there, we did the landing ceremonies, and they went to the press conference and was invited to record for the 10 days workshops. And through recording the press conference and attending the 10 days workshops, I was selected and privileged by all the recording and fanatic note-taking to create the healing document for unity for Gatwas. That was 3,000 participants in 1994. Now there's 1 million participants working on the healing process through the tribal journeys. You have to be sober, you have to be, you can detox and work on that, the drugs and alcohol. A lot of the people have mental health issues as well as HIV, unfriendly things contaminated from the water that come into our bodies. So we learn the spiritual, physical, emotional balance of the intricate set of our spirituality to deliver each of our advocacy work, print, newspapers, radios, TVs, visual and performing arts. So we help people to stand on their own, sort of mentoring the people through the paddle.
So the independence, just
that's right.
You're pulling your own weight, but you're part of the community. And so there's 1 million people participating in tribal journey paddles around the world. In
Washington State, for the last 4 years, there was a minimum of 1 million people at the receptions, and they're all doing their languages. They're right from tiny tots to elders. There's weddings, there's memorials, there's cause to celebrate. And it's a greatest thing that could happen because our people have been belittled at the residential schools, belittled in the mind, body, and soul through the foster care, the 60 scoop, being It was a marathon of taking our people, dismembering our people from our identity through residential schools. When those 10,000 people a lot are missing through the residential schools. So in the 60s, when they were being returned, there was 13 residential schools in the province of BC, and the last one didn't even close until the 1970s, and that was a real prisoner of war, recognized as POW camps internationally now. But while they were returning home, we were getting shipped off in Greyhound busloads to foster care. So coming home and finding family is so sacred. It's so meaningful to. But in that loss, I gained brethren and sisters in the international community. Mm-hmm. Now my family are of all nations. Just like Vancouver, we celebrate a diverse community of relations from all four directions. My relatives are Chinese, Philippine, Hawaiian.
So we're related.
Yeah.
Do I call you auntie, sister, grandma, mom?
Most people call me Kelly.
All right, that covers it.
Well, you know, I'm a great grandma now.
Wow.
Yeah.
You've seen a lot of life and a lot of stories, and so when we say stories from the Salish Seas and try and fit that into a half an hour program, like, you know, what's the challenge, or what do you think will guide you to, you know, define, you know, for the TV, like what stories you'd like to share or like to come through?
A lot of healing, promotion, and self-strength we need is in great international demand, especially here in BC. BC, when I worked at United Nations in Geneva in the late 80s and then represented the Canadian Teachers Union and met with the Teachers Union in Japan of the 12 Pacific Rim countries, we pledged for 24 years to work by curriculum to combat racism, sexism, the rage and anger of against disabilities. You know, there's a really focus of belittling people. A lot of people have invisible disabilities. So healing promotion is the motto for me, and I didn't even know that. You know, I was in armed revolution in 1973 for fishing rights in Duncan.
Right.
And I was in armed revolution in 1973 for housing rights. Veterans got burnt down right in his house. My uncle was a veteran for World War I and II, and he burnt down in his house because he had an element. No hydro, no medical, no care whatsoever. And so we picked up the enemies to our own peace, the guns, the tools of the government. And we thought, well, you want a war, we'll war. And we were advised by our youth and elders that you work with the enemy to your peace, you become the enemy of your own peace. So we decided to put those arms away. It didn't belong to us. It didn't come from here. Mm-hmm. The armed movement comes with great hatred, and then hatred to the bodies after, the radioactive waste, the dismembering, no arms, coming home with no legs, and you know. So became the more motto of every sense of my family's being. You know, my grandchildren, my three girls, and my whole family are out on the healing promotion and perspective. Even though as battered and badgered as we are, we're taught to get up at sunrise, put our hands up and thank the Creator for all that it is. We don't have anything without the strength of our own belief, the strength of our own self, our own constitution that creates the belief of movement with the Salish Seas and healing process. So I'm the Salish Seas. You're the Salish Seas. The kindergarten classes are the Salish Seas. We're all the Salish Seas. No matter how healthy, what age we are, how we love or don't love. So working on that perspective with Salish Seas in the highest of the honor, healing our nations of united resistance to apathy. Strength of the people, and each one is the strength of Salish Seas. People get to tell their own strength, views, and witnessing.
Beautiful. Not much to be said from there. So battle apathy. Watch the program with Kelly and the community. So thank you, Kelly.
Thank you. Highest of your honor.
Kayachin, Tanayap, Dansapetos, thanking all of our friends and relatives for supporting this important work that we're doing today, bringing our canoes on the water on the Salish Sea here to protect our territories for our future generations. The impacts of the proposed Trans Mountain pipeline and the oil tankers brings great risk to our traditional way of life, our sustenance, and our spiritual connection to these lands and waters. Mass exploitation is something that has decimated our lands and resources since contact with European cultures here. We've seen a great impact to our territories, and that there has to be accountability in that type of activity. This isn't just an issue of First Nations, it's an issue that faces all of us here in Canada, with policies and laws that the federal government continues to impose upon our peoples in the jurisdiction of our Aboriginal rights and title here in our territories to make decisions. That's something that is an inherent right bestowed on us by our ancestors over thousands of years. So we're very pleased to strengthen those relations with all the citizens and all the other levels of government to work together on this important issue.
Today you've picked up our hearts. Today you've encouraged us. Today you've opened our eyes to make us see. Today you're a blessing for us and our families. But we thank you, Seashell Nation. We thank you, relatives, for the song. We thank you for being here. And we will never forget. We only acknowledge to the best of our ability, to the best of who we are. We raise our hands to you, thanking you, welcoming you ashore here at Weyawachin.